Well, good morning. It is Saturday morning, June 12th, and today, uh, this Saturday, leads up to the third Sunday after Pentecost, and we are in the long season of ordinary time, and we find ourselves in Mark's Gospel today, Mark chapter 4, verses 26 through 34. Mark chapter 4, verses 26 to 34. And Jesus starts teaching about the kingdom of God. He also said, "This is what the kingdom of God is like. A man scatters seed on the ground. Night and day, whether he sleeps or get up, the seed sprouts and grows, and though he does not know how, all by itself the soil produces grain, first the stalk, then the head, then the full kernel in the head. As soon as the grain is ripe, he puts the sickle to it, because the harvest has come." Again he said, "What shall we say the kingdom of God is like? Or what parable shall we use to describe it? It is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all the seeds on the earth. Yet when planted, it grows and becomes the largest of all garden plants, with such big branches that the birds can perch in its shade." With many similar parables, Jesus spoke the word to them, as much as they could understand. He did not say anything to them without using a parable, but when he was alone with his own disciples, he explained everything. So here we are. Jesus uses two parables of the farmer and the seed and of the mustard seed to explain what the kingdom of God is like. And I think it's interesting that Jesus uses multiple parables to explain what the kingdom of God is like. I think it's really akin to, us a couple weeks ago trying to describe what the Trinity is using things that we know. Jesus, in our human understanding, has to use multiple ways to teach what the kingdom of God is like. And I like one of the things that strikes me as I read that first section where it talks about first the stalk appears and then the head and then finally the kernel it reminds me of the hymn that talks about harvest home, and the moment the name of the hymn is escaping me, but it talks about first the stalk and then the ear and then the full grain shall appear. Come, we thankful people, come. There we go. And the farmer, the farmer really doesn't have much except for planting the soil and watering it and making sure it's irrigated. And here in Delaware, it's been quite dry, and we've been surprisingly they use quite a bit of irrigation equipment here in Delaware. So apparently not a place where we get a lot of natural rain because there's irrigation equipment. But and I think this explain this as if we think of the church as being part of the kingdom of God, sometimes we don't understand how the whole thing comes together. But we are supposed to water, we're supposed to fertilize, we're supposed to encourage the seed to grow, but we don't understand how it all works all together. But we are called to plant the seed. We are called to water the seed, and then when the seed is ripe, we are called to harvest the seed. Jesus said in John, he says the harvest is ripe, but the workers are few. And so pray to the Lord of the harvest that we would have the workers. So this morning, to remember that it's important for us, number one, in the first parable, it's important for us to water the seed. It's important for us to plant the seed. Seeds just don't come up all by themselves. They do. We've got quite a few maple saplings all over the property, but now we're getting them mowed down, and so naturally. But if you're going to harvest a crop, you have to be intentional about planting seed. And so we in the church need to be intentional about planting the seed of the gospel. Then this other part where it's amazing. I've always been amazed by this little parable of the mustard seed, because you go from this little seed that's just like that big, really it's tiny, and yet it grows into a plant that is as big as a tree, and that the birds can put their nests in it. And sometimes I want to be careful here because we sometimes we devalue the things that are small, and when something small can be quite powerful. And so and it reminds us also to make sure that we're looking at the details. I tend to be a very big thinker. I tend to think of the full picture, and a lot of times for me, some of the details get lost. But here, just a small seed, and just it doesn't take much to plant the gospel and for it to grow and grow and grow and grow. And so the kingdom of God is like the farmer and the seed who doesn't understand all of the science behind planting the seed, but he knows what needs to be done. Reminds me of the song, I know who I have believed. I don't know all the ins and outs of how God saves, and theologians can do all that crazy stuff. But I know whom I have believed, and he is able. He is able to save. And so remember that number one, we don't have to know all the science, but we do have to be faithful to plant the seed and to water the seed and to harvest the seed. And second, God can use small things. And I think what's important thing, so many times we think, well, something can be small and okay. And it's true, but it should also, healthy things grow. And so I would encourage you today, the kingdom of God, about the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God is to be built. We are called as believers to build the kingdom of God. God bless. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.